Hey y'all, thanks for tuning back into Chickanic. Hope everybody's having a great week. Man, do I got a doozy for you today. Do you remember last week when I posted this picture? A customer brought this chop saw in saying it was running and that it stopped running, so they brought it in. It wouldn't start, and that they had been using it that week. So that was probably the nastiest plug ever. I mean, what is that on it? Well, I found out, and it's not very good. Now, initially, when the customer brought the concrete saw in, I was at a slow point on something else, so I popped it up on the counter because if you see my previous videos, you know I hate working on cutoff saws, and there's either two things with them. They either have something very simple wrong with them, like water in the gas. I don't know why. They always have water in the fuel. If it's not that, it's burned up, usually. I mean, every once in a while I get rewind issues. These belts pretty much stay, they're good. But this guy, he brought it in, he said it just wouldn't run and it needed a primer bulb. So the first thing I did was I checked the fuel and it was plumb full to the top with water. So I thought, oh yes, it's not burned up. It's gonna be a super easy fix. I'm gonna dump this water out, which it was sort of murky looking, water, which is not a good thing. And I will put some fresh fuel in it. I'll go ahead and pop a primer bulb in it and I'll go. So I started to take it apart to put the primer bulb in because there is many layers you gotta go through just to change the primer bulb out. And while I was at that point, I was like, I'm gonna pull the spark plug. I'm gonna check compression because, don't forget, you might be working on a unit that you think it's a simple fix, but it might be completely burned up. So I better check compression on it, even though these can still have really good compression and be burned up. But I was gonna pull the endoscope out and check the piston and cylinder, just so I know I'm not working on a dead machine. Well, then I pulled the plug out and that's what I saw. And I immediately took a picture and showed you guys too, because I was like, that is insane. But that's not even the craziest part. So once I realized that this customer had some major issues with his cutoff saw, I set it to the side because I was like, well, I've got to put you in line now. It's not going to be a simple fix to get you back on the road. I can't just pour your gas out, put some fresh fuel in, change you a primer bulb, and send you on your way. It definitely has some gooky buildup inside the cylinder. So I set it to the side. I brought it back so I can make a video on it, maybe show y'all me cleaning the cylinder out, something like that. And when I came back to it, Houston, we have a problem. So I go back to looking at everything, and this is the plug that I took out and sent y'all a picture the other day when it was very moist and gooky looking. Well, I just set it to the side. When I went to pick it back up, whatever this buildup is on here, I don't know if you can see it better with or without the light, maybe without the light. It is hard as a rock. I thought it was carbon buildup or something like that, but this won't even come off, okay? It's concrete, I think, the concrete dust. So how did concrete get inside the piston and cylinder? This is not good. So what we're looking at here is an extreme lack of maintenance on this chop saw. And these are not cheap, guys. You have got to maintain these. I mean, that air filter is disgusting. I would always have a backup air filter and change it. Yeah, I don't care if you think you need to or not every few times of use, because these things get super dusty every single time you use them. See, this is the primer bulb that's all cracked that I was fixing to change out for them. But look at the inside of this air filter base. That is directly the import going inside of the carburetor right there. Look at all that. That's concrete dust. So as y'all can tell, this thing is super scary. I don't have high hopes for it. After seeing what was on that spark plug, seeing what was down inside the cylinder, I'm going to go ahead and break out the endoscope because I know that, something is probably detrimentally wrong with this machine. So if you want to get your own endoscope, it's awesome. It's got a little camera with a light on the end. It's a must-have tool at the shop for me. I use the Depth Tech, which it's a little bit more of an expensive one. It also records and stuff like that if you want to use that. You can get a much cheaper one for like 30 bucks. They're awesome too, but I leave a link in the description box below if you want to check that out. So I did figure out how to record from it to give you all a better view, and let's go check the cylinder out. All right, we are recording. Let's go down into the cylinder. Looks pretty decent, actually. Let's get around the other side. Still looking good. Oh, Lord. What is that? Oh, no. It looks like maybe the ring broke or something. That is a huge scratch. Wow. Okay, that is not good. Let me get in there with my poker, see if I can feel it. Yeah, it's gone. It's like a massive Grand Canyon groove in that piston cylinder, or in that cylinder. So, another customer I get to tell that you're, I don't know, how much are these? $700-800 at least. Saw is toast. But I'm going to go ahead and show you how to change your primer bulb out anyways, because I know there are some of you out there that actually like to keep your stuff maintained. And this is one of the most difficult purge bulbs to change. So let's go over it. Now, just to catch you up to speed, where I am right now, I just removed the covers off the top and the air filter, and you have to do this to change the air filter out. So to get the very top cover off, it's got 3 screws, boom, 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 and this one comes off. Then you've got this next cover, and you've got 1, 2, boom, boom screws, and that comes off. And then you've got this one, and then you've got 4 screws, boom, 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 boom. Okay, and you got to get all 3 layers to get to this point. So that's where we're at right now. To get the air filter base off, there's 1 screw holding the intake boot to the cylinder block, and it's like got a little lip at the bottom that it snugs into, and then the 1 screw on the top. And then it's connected to the entire carburetor and air filter base system. So next we're going to get that one out. All right, so this screw needs to come on out. That's the 1 screw that's going to actually come separate. All those still stay in their respective places. And then this all just sort of comes out along with all the goo. So that's everything you have to do to actually change the primer bulb. You have to remove all that so you can get to your fuel lines. So as you see here, that's the intake boot, and it connects to the engine block down there with that 1 screw. The bottom goes in that little lip down there. That's all that holds it on. And one of my lines came off my primer bulb, but the primer bulb right there. And that's how you change out. You have to take all that off. Once you've got it to this point, the throttle lever right here, you could have done it before or after. You've got to see it through the dust there. Let's see if I can get it to where it's not blurry. Oh, I can't. But the throttle lever goes down there into a little plastic, the throttle trigger, section. You can just pull that out and this whole piece will come off. So I'm going to get the throttle lever out of there, and then we could take our fuel line off the other side. I don't have any fuel in this thing, so it's not going to squirt out at me. It's stuck a little bit. Let's twist, and there it comes. Just like that. Now you have your whole carburetor, intake, and air filter base off the machine, and that's gross. So once we got that off, we can see it is gooky inside the ports, but it doesn't look burned up. So hopefully y'all can see that good. And you can see this is the screw on top where that's the only screw holding the intake onto the cylinder, and it just, that little lip down there is where the bottom section goes in. You got your fuel line coming from the tank here and a fuel line for your return. And then you've got the line coming from your carburetor that also goes on the back of, man, that is so gunky on the back of your primer bulb there. So that, you got to do all that just to replace the primer bulb. So, and then if you wanted to see better here, this was where I pulled that lever out for the throttle that was connected to the carburetor. just going to remove this last line that was still stuck on there. And you can see it's one of the prong ones. It's just got two prongs holding it in. It's got a suck and a blow, and you have to make sure you put the right ones on, you know, the right lines, because one sucks the fuel through the carburetor, the other one returns it to the fuel tank. So we know that this one returns it to the fuel tank, so long blows, that one goes to the long nipple. So to take this out, we can press these prongs. Get out of the way. And pushes right through just like that. Then we can just push it on through, and we're gonna pop our new one in. Now there is a way for it to go in. You can see one side has a little notch going down. Looking on the back of the primer bulb, you can see one side doesn't have it, one side's got this little notch down here, so you want to put that in that notch right there. And just once you get it in, you just press hard, pops right in. Now for number 142 of why I hate working on cutoff saws is we're putting it back together. So I've got my throttle lever that I'm going to put in first. Then while it's all down here and connected, I'm going to have to get my fingers in here really easily and reconnect the fuel line. I'm going to have to put my fuel line from the carburetor to the primer bulb, then, and I'm waiting on doing this one because it's above that one, so I don't want this one being in the way. So then I'm going to put my return line back on. Then I have to get this lip right here on the bottom of the intake, in that lip down there, and make sure that it's in there, and then connect it back with this one screw on the top. Let's see if I can do it. I would have loved to had y'all come in close and see that, but there's no way I can get a camera in there. So, you know what I'm doing. Now, I have to make sure that that is in its, is it? Yes, it is. Okay, we've got our one screw to hold all that down. Put that back together. Alright, so that's in. Throttle works. Choke works. Okay, wow, we are back together. And we got her all put back together now. And I've been priming her. Prime's good. So unfortunately, even though it has compression, spark, and gets gas, it is never going to run. And I know a lot of you are going to ask, why don't you put a piston and cylinder in it? Because I'm going to charge you probably the amount of labor it takes to take all that apart and the parts. It's going to cost you close to a new one. It's not worth it. So that's it, guys. Another one bit the dust, but hey, you got to see it. I know a lot of you wanted to know what was up with that spark plug the other day when I posted that picture. So this happens all the time. That's why I posted a video. I will leave a link right up above showing how, you know, I have tons and tons of cutoff saws laying around the shop because nobody maintains their equipment. These are the most worked, abused machines out there, and nobody comes and picks them up when they're dead because who wants it just sitting around? So I have a ton of dead chop saws sitting at the shop. But at least now you know how to change your primer bulb if yours is still running and it's been around long enough for it to actually rot out. So thanks again for tuning in to Chickanic. Hopefully this video saved you time, money, and frustration in the future. If you haven't found us on Facebook, find us at facebook.com/Chickanic. Find me on Instagram at TheRealChickanic, or find me at Chickanic.com, where you get your own t-shirts, hoodies, and long sleeve shirts. Thanks guys, and have a great day.